Well, Charles, I'm still here.
Evidently. But before we get started, I got a quick question to ask you. Do I look fat in this snowsuit?
No. But, I mean, everybody knows that I was planning on leaving New York, and obviously this is still New York. So
Sure,
I
it
haven't
could be
left yet.
Paris. It could be Paris.
But it isn't.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was going to leave, Charles, but it seemed, I try to be pragmatic, particularly even now as I'm aging, more so. And it seems that,
You want to go that way? Or
sure,
just because it's slushy or
hanging
whatever?
around in the city for a week to avoid a snowstorm, only to leave and drive right into the heart of another snowstorm, didn't seem like the best idea.
Well, it's just obvious that there's global warming has affected New York with all the snow and the deep freeze that's going to happen tomorrow.
Isn't this the polar vortex that we're having now?
Whatever explanation you need to justify spending $93 trillion, I mean, you don't really need reason or logic. You just demand the $93 trillion.
Look at all this snow. We need the trillions.
Right.
Now we have a little bit of an added problem today. That's quite a. I admire that snowman right there, Charles. Let's check that out for
Where?
a moment. If
You
we
mean
could.
there?
Well, the mini right here.
Mini-me snowman?
It's constructed with a high degree of precision, as far as I can tell from here. Very spherical.
Uh-huh.
That's a well-done snowman, and
No mask.
I like it. Whoa,
Whoa.
don't trip. So it is quite treacherous. I'm feeling like the right decision was made with regard to not leaving today.
Is that a snowman or a snowbird?
That is a snow G. We're still trying to determine
yeah.
the pronoun for it.
That's
It
true.
would prefer not to answer. We can see it's got that long eyelashes
Right.
and no obvious genitalia. So it's a gender
gen-
fluid snowman person.
That's right. Exactly. Huh. There's another one.
So
Kinda like-
perhaps this is performance art, Charles.
Well,
It's
this
a
could
series
be.
of snow people.
If you remember that NCIS episode where they leave Jamaican voodoo dolls, this would appear to be an angry, perhaps male. It actually is pretty well done.
Yes, it would need a carrot if it
And there's
were.
one in the middle. Actually, there's another one across the way, and another. There's quite a few of them.
Oh, yeah.
They're
look at that.
everywhere.
Charles, this is something of a snow art installation.
Right. I think this could be grounds for another one of our photographic specials. I'm sure viewers could pull the images and go, Mini-me snowman in the middle of Washington Square Park.
Yeah. But just to give people this sort of technical overview before we begin, it's actually considerably warmer today than it has been on previous snow days. And so there's a high degree of slush on the ground. We're starting to get a little bit more of, I'm developing some skill with this new setting on the gimbal so we can see how it allows the show to be more dynamic. But the higher temperature, Charles, presents something of a problem because on the colder days, when this snow would land on the phones and the equipment, it stayed very frozen and didn't really disrupt. But now we're right at this temperature where stuff is hitting the surface of the phone and immediately turning to water, so unexpected things could result if the broadcast is negatively impacted at all, and it turns to the point of needing a director's cut. That'll be available for people on subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And before we get into too many of the details of today's show, I want to remind people that I'm currently in the midst of a beta test of the new Crowdsource the Truth video server. And a lot of people have been emailing me saying, hey, I want to get in on the beta test. And all you have to do is be a sponsor on Subscribestar and just scroll down. You can see the legacy videos. People who are interested in getting deep inside Robert David Steele's anti-speech strategy can do that. The ASS is detailed there in legacy episodes on Subscribestar, so that's a good thing.
Careful.
And I'm glad I didn't choose to drive in this slop, Charles.
Yeah. We'll see, of course, overnight, but supposedly the temperature is going to plummet overnight. So all this slop, if it does plummet, the temperature will become perhaps ice and even sheet ice. And then you'll have the pleasure of trying to dig out. These people will have the pleasure of trying to get their cars dug out of sheet ice, which will be a Shiite thing to have to do.
Shiite Muslims
Easy with
versus
that.
the Wahhabis.
Easy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I'll probably, I think, wait at least a day and see what the temperature does, what the road conditions do.
Right.
I mean, again, this is a road trip at my discretion, so I can leave at any time. You know, internet rumors abound, Charles. It's been alleged that an insane wife-swapping psychopath thinks I'm moving in with Lee Stranahan. I don't know where
What?
that idea came from. Yeah, I mean, this is, you know, people make up nonsense on the internet and spread it around.
Was that Scarborough doing that?
I'm not going to say who it is, but the thing is, you know, Charles, it's important, I feel, for viewers of Crowdsource the Truth to always keep in mind that, you know, I think a lot of people have determined that corporate-owned news agencies have agendas that maybe aren't in line with the agenda of the people of the United States.
Right.
But it's important to keep in mind that just because someone has a counter-narrative or a different idea
Right.
or suggests an alternative explanation, that doesn't make it right. They still need evidence. They still need to prove what it is that they're alleging.
Of course. Well, unless they're in politics.
Well, or the pillow business, apparently.
Yeah. Well, let's start, because I always forget to do this. Let's start by congratulating the art department.
Oh, well, thank you. Actually, you know, there's something else I wanted to tell you about today's episode, Charles. I've already decided that if it's successful, the Racketeer, of course, we're talking about the big guy, President Dumb Joe Biden.
Right.
If this episode is successful, we already have the sequel planned, the Cracketeer.
Way to go. Chip off the old block.
Yeah, so, you know, we know that Hunter Biden is allegedly the smartest crackhead in the United States.
That Joe knows.
Smartest that Joe knows. I have a nominee for the second smartest crackhead in the United States.
Who's that? Jeez.
Well, he's a former pillow salesman.
I mean, he's still selling them, trying to anyway. Yeah, I've been taken to watching. I mean, I stopped watching all news, mainstream news, several months ago. But to make up for that, I've been taken to watching, well, obviously what we do and you do, but what Bannon does on War Room Pandemic. And he has been...
Oh, no.
What's wrong?
Oh, no, it's working.
And he has been having Mike Lindell on, who's of course a big sponsor of his show, touting, he got the scoop touting that the documentary would air on One American News beginning at 10 a.m. Friday.
Let's wait for this for a second.
They're coming for us, Jason.
I mean, it's so loud.
Right there.
So wait a minute. So the pillow sponsors Steve Bannon?
Yeah, and lots of other shows. But anyway, so Mike had him on right as the One American News debut was going on. And Steve had him on. And Steve was circumspect. I mean, he kept interrupting. Lindell was trying to say he had absolute proof and everything was certain and this and that. Mike said, and Steve said, well, wait a minute. You know, I know, more or less, he said, I know you believe your case, obviously you wouldn't have made it, but are you prepared now to make some news and agree to come on our show or any other show in a live format and let the Dominion people debate you frame by frame? And he said, absolutely, I'll do that on Friday, multiple times.
Okay.
Now, I don't, you know, I know of people, and there are very few people who actually make it back from having been addicted to crack to finding your feet and building up a business or doing whatever it is you're going to contribute positively to society.
Right.
So
that is an achievement worthy of
it's
praise.
a remarkable achievement if it's true. And I don't know what demons may have pushed or impelled Mike Lindell into that life. You know, why he got there, what if you go back into his long history. I just don't know anything about the guy.
I know a little bit about him now.
Right, but I don't. I'm just saying I haven't looked into it. And I frankly, one of the things that keeps running through my mind on this whole issue of voter fraud is it's not like the Trump team shouldn't have suspected voter fraud was a serious threat to his re-election in 2020. I mean, we knew there were suspicions, which in my mind are amplified now by what we know so far, what we suspect so far. I believe it's possible that voter fraud caused Barack Obama to be reelected in 2012. I believe that's possible, based on just, my reading of the situation as it was going down. You recall the Tea Party leapt, if we go, I don't know if you're ready, but be careful, it's a little deeper. Yeah. The Tea Party just trounced Obama in 2010 and the Democrats. And you got to believe the way they played with all their scandals and their targeting Tea Party conservatives and Fast and Furious, the many things we know about, the many things we don't yet understand, what really happened in Benghazi and all that stuff. You got to believe they were terrified that the Republicans would gain control of the executive branch in the November 2012 election. So, and I've said this since the very beginning, if we're going to investigate election integrity or election fraud, we need to go right the way back. If you want to go back to George W. Bush's...
How about 1963?
As far back as you want to go.
It seems to me that election tampering is more popular sport than the Super Bowl. The superb owl.
Yeah, I agree with that for good reasons. But I think it would be fair to go back. I mean, for historians, let them go back to however far back you want to.
Did you hear that?
I did. But
stay off the moors, Charles.
Exactly. I think for our purposes, you might want to go back just to 2000, because prior to 2000, the internet was not really as much of a thing. And I think a lot of the fraud that happens these days and changing public opinions and all that occurs via
social engineering
using social media and other means. So I think that would be if I had to define a period to look at first, I'd start 2000 forward. You might go back if you wanted to. What was that? To Bill's re-election in '96.
Right. Well, certainly the tactics that are being used now are probably newer and maybe not necessarily that available back then.
Or put slightly differently, you can do things today that you couldn't do in 1996 as readily.
Absolutely.
So,
well, and that I think is also very applicable to what recently happened and what we were investigating last week with Wall Street bets. I thought it was very interesting that they had Jordan Belfort sort of all over the place talking about it, because it's essentially expanding what was done at Stratton Oakmont to the broader internet, allowing it basically created kind of what David Hawkins would call a virtual floating matrix of pump and dumpers, rather than a single company where you could identify the individuals and say put all those guys in jail.
Right. Well, but staying though on the election fraud issue and the Lindell piece.
Actually, yeah, let's slow the pace because it is quite treacherous.
Right. The Lindell piece, staying on that for a second. We're heading. I know it's a big secret that we're heading down to a portion of town where Jason is going to buy a whole bunch of authentic Louis Vuitton, Gucci handbags around here.
Well, this is actually a request. Somebody wanted to see Chinatown, so we're heading down there.
Right. You know, people think that the real Gucci stores and the real Louis Vuitton stores are up there on Fifth Avenue. That's not right. Those are just fronts. The real stuff is sold down here.
On a blanket.
And you can get a certificate of authenticity that proves that they're real.
Yeah.
So long as you don't pay with a fake credit card.
Look at that, Charles. That's the empty pool.
Yeah. So the elements. One of the things I've noticed in these arguments that all start with, don't follow your gut instinct. Don't believe the evidence. Listen to us. Listen to us. There was no election fraud. No lawsuits have been decided in favor of Donald Trump. There is no evidence of tampering. Repeat after me. There is,
It's crazy. Wasn't there now some development with lawsuits that they're actually...
Yeah, that the Supreme Court has taken into conference a few lawsuits. But it strikes me that they're as we think through the stages of the possible points in the fraud.
New York City sled dog, Charles.
Yeah. The first element is did the person who showed up and cast, is the person who shows up and casts a vote entitled to vote? That's the first question,
Yeah.
in my mind. And that could be, you could be unentitled to vote because you're a foreign or whatever, you're a felon and you can't vote, or you could be entitled to vote. So that's the first question. Then, how many times did the people who vote actually vote, and in what jurisdictions? We have evidence around the country that people would vote, and that's contained not just in this movie, but in other. There have been other articles and allegations. It seems supported in the case of Giuliani's work by affidavits under oath.
See, that's an important aspect because those affidavits under oath involve people who actually witnessed things,
Right.
and experts who were referring to forensic numerical data in terms of recordings of results that are agreed upon,
Right.
and observations of that, rather
Right.
than these mysterious
Right.
pieces of evidence that no one can really. I think that deflecting away from those affidavits and tangible evidence is a dangerous thing to do.
Right. So and also when we get into the area of, frankly, what I think or you think, nothing. What you think and what I think doesn't actually in the end matter. Let's look at the evidence.
Right.
Let's if we can't stress test it ourselves, let's find experts we agree can do it. Let's listen to their reports, and let's stress test the experts too. Many of them have biases. People are arguing that all the election fraud experts are liars. So anyway, there's a fair amount of work that has to get done. And then once we get through looking at the piles of votes, we can't lose sight of the devious place, which Lindell's thing was trying to address, and I don't know whether it's true or not true. After the votes are sent into the Secretary of State, how do those electronic files, if they are electronic files, how do they get conveyed elsewhere in the process of pulling everything together? And I think it's in that latter step. It could be that the Dominion people are actually right about portions of what happened and wrong about other portions.
Yeah.
And I just think it's complicated enough that one would want a real investigative service, not the FBI, which is hopelessly compromised at this point, a real bunch, not of people
Crack
on
investigative team.
not of people on crack, but crack investigators. People who love crack. No. Investigators who are good at what they do. And I'm just amazed, or maybe I shouldn't be amazed, that the Trump team, particularly with Jared on it, wouldn't have thought about this well before 2020. I mean, Jared's got a brother who runs a big shit venture capital firm, a lot of high-tech investments in it. You would think, and he's of a generation where he's younger than you, so and I would assume he's computer literate. Maybe wrongly, but
There's something about that brothers venture capital
Oh, yeah.
firm that I was just talking about last week that I can't recall right now.
right. But you would have thought that, sitting there, you're Donald Trump. Maybe in the beginning you thought living in the White House was a step down. It probably was compared to what
It's
he's.
historic.
But here he is, and he's kind of used to having the button on the Resolute desk that he can push and get an instant chilled Diet Coke. And
I don't think he drinks Diet Coke.
he was drinking
Full
Diet Coke.
regular Coke.
Huh?
Diet Coke is terrible for you.
No, he
as
does
is
drink Diet
regular Coke. I hate that.
Yeah.
You should hire Chris.
Let's slow down just a bit. Yeah.
Chris, what's the stupid lawyer's name?
Which stupid lawyer, Jason?
Imran Awan's lawyer.
Oh, yeah. The guy who brings Coke.
Yeah. I can't believe it. I don't remember his name. All right. Well, anyway, he's inconsequential.
So on the one
Gowan.
hand, Chris Gowan, yeah. So on the question of what was in the documentary, and I watched a little bit of the beginning. The introduction, I just couldn't stand. I mean, it was bloviating, and
He's not a good presenter. I mean, he could have dug up Tom Carvel and be like, "Hello, I'd like to present you with election fraud results. Won't you buy a cookie puss cake?"
Yeah, parenthetically, those Carvel ads, the sound of a guy's, got melted ice cream in his dentures sloshing out the sides of his mouth. It's like, buy some of my ice cream, I promise.
The thing that was funny about it, though, is that I was a kid, so I wasn't that discerning, but I love Carvel ice cream.
You loved you some Carvel ice cream?
I still do to this
Oh,
day.
I
And
did
so
not
when
like
that
it.
old man would come on the TV, it was like, yeah, let's get that.
Yeah. Old men selling ice cream to kids. Nothing can go wrong with that.
He invented soft serve ice cream, as far as I know.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
like Tom Carvel.
all right. Well, duly noted, Jason.
Although I've never seen a picture of him, to tell you the truth. He never appeared in the commercials. It was just his
He didn't want
voice.
he didn't want to frighten the children.
I wonder what he looks like.
I think he probably looks pretty dead.
Well, he's dead now, of course. But,
Yeah.
And I think he sold that ice cream place to, like, Mitt Romney or something.
Oh,
right
to
before
Bain
he
Capital?
died.
Well, let's maybe go this
I'm
way.
pretty sure, because then they put it in with, like, this was the genius move. I know. We'll put ice cream with donuts. Yeah, that's good. And Pizza Hut. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Cops won't like that.
No, I mean, it's a good way to save
Right.
money on rent and sell stuff that everybody wants to eat. But anyway, back to the election documentary.
Yeah. So here's Donald Trump now. It's February 7th. He's not the president of the United States. We got this trial starting tomorrow. Tonight, I'm sure 60 Minutes will have some breathless expose of new things that should be included in the...
Schmo is on there tonight.
Who is?
Joe Biden is on 60
Schmo?
Minutes tonight. Yeah, crying.
The Racketeer?
Crying about the Cracketeer.
Really? Crying about Hunter?
I saw that there was some question they asked him, and he's like, oh, I'm sure every family has at least one person with an alcohol or drug problem, and that's...
And we have everybody in our families like that.
Right.
That's
yeah.
why I'm so happy
sure,
to be president.
Right. I'm sure everybody's family has at least one person who's having sex with the sister-in-law and doing crack and being inappropriate around the 14-year-old.
Taking showers as one whole happy family together with
And cracking out and leaving their laptop with all the nude pictures and
going into
bribery.
business with
Everybody has that. Oh, excuse me for getting personal. And then he kind of weeps for a moment so that he can be more relatable, I guess. But
oh God.
I mean,
But they're ginning that shit. Sorry, they're ginning that shit up
yeah.
for another relentless assault on, the Trump name, the Trump family, and we've got one argument more crazy than the next. For example, a supposed former law professor, last name Raskin, is a congressman and one of the lead impeachment managers, and he had the audacity. I mean, this guy should be disbarred for saying what he said at the time that he said it, that if Trump refuses to testify, he should in effect be presumed guilty.
What?
Yeah.
How is that coming from a lawyer? You're right to not incriminate yourself by taking the fifth and not
It's
testifying?
a central premise that the founding fathers were so important. One of the more important elements they cared about, having been through in England the Star Chamber, where it was just that idea, you're almost guilty until proven innocent.
Right.
And also the Inquisition in Spain. I mean, it was to say that, oh, no, it's 2021. Who cares about the history? We're just going to do it my way. If you don't answer the question, we're going to presume you're guilty, because I say so.
Well, that's the way the internet works, too. Guilt by accusation. I apologize for quoting the Dersh.
The douche?
That's the
What?
name. Dushowitz's book is called Guilt by Accusation, which is the place we're in right now.
Exactly. So, but they're going to, they have the mainstream media all in thrall to Democrats, and they have social media. I just, on a sidebar point, those of you who, like me, look at Osama bin Dorsey and say there's something really off with that guy. I don't know what it is with the Osama bin Laden beard and all that. He gave an interview, or remarks came to light recently, where he said to somebody that as he was in tech for a while, he actually thought about dropping out and becoming either a massage therapist or something else completely implausible. I mean, that guy has issues.
Yeah. Massage therapist.
Right.
Oh my God.
In San Francisco.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, that's got Jeff Rose King name on it.
Who is that?
I don't know, but it's an odd fellow's eyeball, and maybe he's the guy who's drawing him.
See, now this is actually pretty decent art. If this were not on a piece of plywood, But look at how damaged this whole area is. This used to be, from memory, when I was a kid, maybe this or on a different corner down here, you could get these wind-up metal toys. And I remember getting those, walking down here to try to find them. Here you look up there, Seika. People are climbing up on buildings now at night. And mind you, this is a major east-west crosstown street, right? I mean, this is not, if you had police who gave a shit, you would think they'd notice people jumping up on buildings. They couldn't have put that together in 10 seconds, right? So it would take a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
I mean, it looks to me, I have no idea how long that would take, but this one's like the evil Bart Simpson or something.
It would take me about 12 lifetimes, but look over there. See up there?
Whoops.
Anna Merck,
Yeah.
all the way up there, PSP. How do they get up and do that? Do they put up a ladder? Do they
I think the fire escape, no?
do you see a fire escape?
Maybe the adjacent building, they must have roof access.
Well, I don't know how they got up that high is the point. So
This is a pleasant thing to see.
what?
Instead of no cash, cash only.
Yeah, but watch yourself. Yeah. Excuse me, part of it. Did you hear that?
I did not.
No.
Contactless clock exhibition. What is that about?
Well, it looks like
It's written in Chinese and it looks new.
it looks like there's nobody here.
Well, we are in Chinatown, so things
Not
being
yet.
written in Chinese is not.
We're not yet in Chinatown,
So maybe it is a little strange for something to be written in Chinese right there.
Yeah. but we're not in a part of town. We're not in, I would say, a town that's functioning right now.
No, that's true.
And we can get you some neon here if you want. You can now light it.
Really need it.
You can put it in the back of your car. Put your logo, Crowdsource the Truth, in neon.
So far, the car's been doing a lot of parking.
And more Mercer Street is upscale stuff. And look at that lovely, not so lovely graffiti.
Really does.
Oh my goodness, Jason, you're not going to be able to get these bags. You've got many followers, I think. And I believe there's an important day coming up a week from today.
What is that?
Something to do with Tines. Valentine's.
Oh, right, exactly. But what's his name? Cuomo is planning to open the restaurants then, irrespective of what's going on with coronavirus. Have we covered everything with Mike Lindell? Because I did bring my phone call with Mike Lindell for people who didn't hear it.
Yeah.
I want to be clear. I am not trying to bash Mike Lindell, but if he's doing something that I feel is dangerous or damaging, I want to let people know about that, including him, so he can stop. I don't have any reason to believe that Mike Lindell is malicious. I just think that he's been fooled. Can I play the phone call, Charles?
Go for it.
People who haven't
Go for it.
heard
Hello.
this?
Somebody called.
Mike, yes, Mr. Lindell.
Yeah.
This is Jason Goodman calling. How are you, sir? I just spoke with Shannon, your assistant.
Okay. Okay.
The reason I'm calling,
I don't. You're calling me for what?
the reason I'm
I
calling
don't
Mike.
really like when people call me out of the blue.
Sorry, the reason I'm calling is because I support what you're doing. I support President Trump, and I have serious concerns about the information that Mary Fanning and General McInerney have shared with you. I've been dealing with Mary Fanning.
I didn't get my information from them, sir, and I have got mine from other sources inside the government that have nothing to do with them. They would. You think I'm smarter than that? Than not, they have everything backed up with my sources. These guys. I wouldn't have put my people on there that have the actual stuff. So
I'd like to help you.
I don't.
And if you would like to ignore my information, you're free to do that. But I'd like to share it with you so that you can include it in your.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So Mary Fanning primarily relies on testimony from an individual named Dennis Montgomery, who's a very unreliable witness. And she initially was pushing this information towards Sidney Powell. And again, my fear is
Can I ask you this? What do you care what I do? What do you care what I do? I finally got. Do you agree there's election fraud?
Yes.
Do you agree there's machine fraud?
I
You
agree.
There's machine fraud.
I don't
You
have.
agree there's machine fraud.
I agree there was election fraud, Mike. I don't have
You agree
evidence.
there is machine fraud.
I don't know if there was or wasn't. I don't know.
Okay,
I agree there was fraud.
Goodbye, lose my number. Goodbye and lose my number. You're working for Dominion. Goodbye.
I'm not working for Dominion, Mike. So, Charles, Mike Lindell thinks I work for Dominion Voting.
Meanwhile, also, if you look up there, there's some. Look all the way up there. There's more graffiti up there. There's graffiti
Oh, yeah.
all over the place. Yeah, I just don't. And all over that nice building over there.
It's
Yeah.
gotten bad down here.
So the thing I was going to say about Lindell is that his actions may or may not be. I think that I believe, I hope that he believes he's trying to help Donald Trump, but to slap a documentary together as quickly as they did, and then I believe you just asked him in that phone call, because I listened to it maybe an hour ago, you asked him, is the research, that your work, the stuff is based on research done by Mary Fanning?
Yeah.
And he says, no, it's not. Yeah. And then you look at the end of the movie and it's, she's the research director, she's executive producer, and she's really, at the tail end of the movie, she's the person upon which Mike rests his case, really. He says, here's the 100% proof, look at all this, look at this video diagram, and now maybe they've had real experts not connected to Mary Fanning check that stuff. I'm just saying maybe. There is a chance. But to be in a place on February 7th where this is your sort of pre-trial evidence drop, if this is the best they have, I fear that Donald Trump is in serious trouble.
Well, that's why I wanted to contact Mike Lindell, because he asked me, what do you care what I do? And the answer in general is I don't. But except when I feel like it's going to have a negative impact on something that could be prevented, I'm going to approach the guy in a polite and professional way.
Which you did.
To tell him that, hey, I think this is a problem. And when he acts like a volatile crackhead moron, I want to let everybody know that it's possible that he might be a volatile crackhead moron.
Right.
And it's important that he is handled accordingly. So I'm not advising anybody to do anything other than keep that in mind when they listen to the information that he's presenting, because I believe that he is doing a disservice to Donald Trump.
Right. So we're now headed over towards, I think the heart of Chinatown is down this way, right?
Yep.
Well,
and the thing is, Charles, people want to also know about this Time Magazine article that basically is calling out lawfare and our buddies at the Brookings Institution, Ben Wittes and all of these people that we've been talking about for 3 years.
Right. Well, are we finished on Lindell on the...
Well, I don't think so, because the point is these people are connected not directly, but in other words, the way they behave is similar. When I have evidence pertinent to stories that Ben Wittes is putting forward with Shane Harris, and he immediately flies off the handle, doesn't want to hear it, and becomes insulting, that's a weird response. And it's the same kind of response Mike Lindell had. I'm not saying that means they're working together or even know each other or have the same agenda.
Right.
I'm just saying it seems like two people who don't actually want to find the truth.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
What else would you like to say about Mike Lindell and his investigation?
Well, I think to me, one of the things Lindell spouted off in that movie is that he believed that Trump had won 79 million votes and Biden had won 64 million or something like that. And we'll never know possibly how many votes were counted by state, by district, the way we should know, given the likelihood that so much of this has been tampered with, and given the high stakes involved here. We are talking potentially about an election.
Trump could go to jail.
Well, Trump could go to jail, and others could go to jail if Trump's proven right. So it's
right.
It's a high.
At stake.
It's it's the trial of the century. But when we look at it, if you flip everything on its head and you say, let's not talk about who. No, we can talk specifically. If Donald Trump, as the sitting president of the United States, had with all his fanfare and showmanship and background, had organized his campaign from the basement of the White House, next to the bowling alley or wherever
Right.
it is, and then had the few rallies that he had at Jeep dealerships where he wasn't giving away Jeeps, and cut up to try to market to the key African American community. You know, if he had gone up and said, "Come on, man,"
You ain't black.
yeah, or "Listen, fat,"
Yeah.
you know, I don't think anyone would have believed, and it had the rally attendance that he had. I don't think anybody would have said, "Oh yeah, Donald Trump won this fair and square," right? But to think that Joe Biden, who, let's face it, I mean, he is repellent.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not. I don't know who would like a Joe Biden, other than perhaps
Joe?
his 95-year-old grandmother, if he had one. You know, but his record,
Grandmother would be like 130.
or whatever. Maybe not, Jason.
That's true. Could be his sister.
Given the way they roll.
Right.
But so here we are at the base of Chinatown, right?
Yeah. Here everything's written in Chinese. Look, these souvenir stores. That's suspicious to me, Charles. Who's buying souvenirs?
We're not.
And when I say the word suspicious, those guys became quite.
With the camera.
Yeah, they're like, hey, get out of here.
You have a nice license plate.
Give that to Cuomo.
He already has those.
Put that right
Trust
on his
me.
car.
Now these, you want to go down a little side street
Sure.
and back up, just so people can get. These are the old days when we were kids. Our parents would drag us down here for dinner or lunch. And actually the food in some of these restaurants is I can't identify a given one today, but it was really quite special. What is that? And I
What
think
does that lady say?
what she wants to sell you. She heard about your Gucci, Louis Vuitton. I mean, but I think we might be able to find Joe Biden's secret rendezvous point with the Chinese government, where his illicit fat restaurant.
Yeah.
You know what the #1 dish on his in that restaurant is, right?
Peking crack.
Well, that's one, but some dumb fuck is another one.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of stuff closed down here, Charles. Usually I would think Sunday Chinatown is open. Oh, it's for rent, some of these places.
Right.
Huh.
This is kind of, I mean, you can, as a tourist, when this finally opens up, come here, you can wander around. And in some ways, the more modest the storefront, the better the restaurant might end up being. You can,
Well, I usually gauge it by the number of actual Chinese people
Right.
that are there.
That's right.
If it's a lot, then that
In
means
China
it's
or in the restaurant?
good. In the particular restaurant. If
Oh,
it's
okay.
all white people, that's probably not the best one.
Right. Here we go, kosher Chinese.
Really?
That's the thing.
Watch
Careful.
out for that edge.
Should have warned you about that one.
No, it's okay. A lot of these places are pretty empty, Charles.
I'd say the whole city's pretty empty.
Yeah. Yeah.
And about to get emptier.
Right. Any kind of scheduled protests, I would think this snow is putting a damper on.
Bayard Street is an old famous street down here. Let's hang a Louis down this way.
Sure. Ooh, kind of stinky right there. Wow, what's that? I don't know if I've seen that.
Yeah, we've been in here before, actually.
in that thing.
Yeah.
What, I don't know if I've noticed that.
Yeah, this is a little. It's a park. The
But what is this house?
I don't know.
Should we
Let's
take a
go.
look at it?
Go. We can if you want.
Well, let's just see what that is. I can't say that I've noticed that before. Do you know what park this is?
I think we'll find out in a second because there's a sign right here. Columbus Park. Burn it down.
Right.
Dr. Sun Yat-sen, Columbus Park.
What did he have to do with Christopher Columbus?
He
this
was
is an unusual feature for a park.
he was the first provisional president of the Republic of China.
Don't you find this
This looks nice.
concrete house to be an unusual feature for a park?
Oh, it's nice.
What's in there?
I think it's just a pavilion. Maybe in the summer people perform.
Curiosity killed the cat, Charles.
I think this could be a improvised homeless place. So those guys are not going to want to be pictured as a bet.
All right, so we'll just take a wide stroll around. There's some Chinese writing on this thing.
And here's all under heaven are equal. This is actually fitting because this is the group that would be very anti-communist. And here.
Oh, they're doing some Tai Chi or something up there.
Yeah.
Maybe this is like Falun Gong or something.
Could be. Let's keep.
And that dude is sort of like a sentinel up there.
Yeah.
Not a bot sentinel, Charles. Bot sentinel appears to be a sham.
What does?
That company Bot Sentinel that purports to monitor Twitter activity and give you a report of
I don't know if we can get out this
what
way,
are
Jason.
inauthentic accounts. You're right, the gate seems locked. I thought you might be interested in these socks.
Yeah, I left them there in the glove. That's your left glove.
Oh,
Isn't the
yes,
one that you were looking
exactly.
for?
I'm looking for many. But it's a pretty empty park. This is oh wait, and there's somebody else standing right there. It's that Dr. Sun Yat-sen.
Yeah.
Charles, I was really not aware of this little park at all.
Well, now you are.
He's the founder of the Republic of China. Now, why do we want a statue to him?
He's a very famous guy.
Oh. Well, there he is.
Indeed.
No chess games happening today.
No chess. Just slush. But this is fitting in that what has happened, I think, is that really, perhaps right under the noses of our security services, the Chinese Communist Party has installed a puppet in Joe Biden, a crackhead in his son,
Right.
over on top of the levers of power, and they're now consolidating power with these executive orders and undercutting much of what the Trump administration accomplished in face of determined opposition over 4 years. Any move that they can make, it would seem, to weaken this country, they're doing,
And it's working.
and more to come. So,
That's like Johnny Carson.
yeah, Karnak, magnificent.
You just always say more to come.
Carjack, the not so magnificent.
Mochi donut.
Watch
Boy,
it.
that sounds good. Ali Mama TV. A T.
Manhattan florist.
Wow. Mochi donut sounds good to me.
You just are on a donut kick. Do you have an announcement to make? Are you
No.
expecting a child or something, or sweet
No.
tooth?
I mean, I like mochi,
Okay.
and I don't dislike donuts, so mochi donut sounds good.
So,
I'll tell you, Charles, all these outdoor restaurant huts that I've observed today are empty.
yeah.
So,
So-
I wonder if they'll stay open until Valentine's Day.
I don't know. But just so taking a 50,000 foot above sea level flyover, China, the ancient China was weakened by the British and the Opium Wars.
Right.
Which way would you like to go? Up Mott Street or?
I was just going to kind of take a little look around
Sure.
Mott Street here, see what we've got going on. This is kind of like the height of Chinatown.
Yeah, Bayard and Mott kind of.
This is where it all
Careful,
happens.
Jason.
If it were Chinese New Year, there would be stuff exploding all over the place.
Chinese
around
New
here.
Year is I think coming up.
Well,
What
if
is
you-
it?
If you want some dynamite thrown at you, this is the place to come.
Yeah, it'll be a year of the dumb fuck, but could be 4 years of the dumb fuck if he's lucky. But simple terms, the great nation of China was weakened purposefully, primarily by the Brits, but supported by the U.S. and others, by flooding that nation with opium and addicting the population to opium. And so, I doubt it's really the case, but turnabout fair play? I mean, is having fentanyl and other opioids course into the country, in particular the rural portions of the country, where it's tough to actually figure out how to make anything work. the Chinese soften us up that way. Let me go.
Sure.
And continue to do so. And of course, one way to make sure that they are able to do that is
Oh,
to.
wait. Sorry, Charles. Let's just look at the ducks.
Those aren't ducks. Those are very big cockroaches.
One way to do that is what?
Is to reverse Donald Trump's wall policy, and to reverse.
They're doing that.
Of course, they're doing that, and they're going back to catch and release. They're eliminating the agreements with El Salvador, Honduras, and
What's the significance
Guatemala.
of that?
Well, as I wrote in an article long ago, and others pointed out, the problem flowing across the Mexican border is not primarily Mexicans. It's from people from even poorer countries in Central America and actually all over the world who understand that you can get in the United States via that southern border
Right.
and then come across Mexico marauding and engaging in criminal behavior there before they come to settle in here. So to undo the agreements that our Trump administration reached, to reverse the wall, to basically encourage these caravans now to come north, which are apparently heading north, also makes it ever more difficult to control the flow of illegal drugs and other problems across our southern border. And of course that weakens the United States population, weakens morale, and it softens us up.
Stresses local law enforcement.
Stresses local law enforcement. Yeah, it's expensive. Speaking of local law
Yeah, that's
enforcement.
what I was just about to look at. A couple cops standing around. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Nothing to do.
Yeah. Well, a couple cops standing around, and I don't think there's a tremendous crime problem in Chinatown, but I could be wrong.
Triads.
Yeah. There's a line to get into the body rub place. You would have thought, body
What is
rub.
that? Oh,
You would have thought that we're in the middle of this pandemic.
that would be something you would avoid.
Yeah, I mean, what are you supposed to do in the middle of a massage? Please wear a mask.
That guy thought you were talking to him.
No,
And then he was totally confused because he is wearing a mask and we're not. He's like, wait, I was about to get into a fight with that guy, but I don't understand what he was talking about.
This is like the capital of spas.
Well, I think that massage is considered a regular part of health maintenance in Asia. And I actually do enjoy reflexology and stuff like that, particularly when I'm working out a lot. I think it does help.
Yeah.
And people who know more about that kind of stuff will know about, lymph nodes and
Right.
whatnot.
Whoa, slippery. But so staying then though on the whole China versus U.S. thing, we have it is ironclad fact that the New York Post had a gripping story with evidence suggesting that Hunter Biden was engaged in illegal activities with his family members for decades, while Joe was either vice president, senator, or running for president.
Well, that's the problem, Charles.
Right.
You can't have stories with evidence. Get that out of here.
And here we have a nice little cheery scene. Sorry, go ahead. What did he say?
I think he said be cheery or something. People will get it on the playback.
Right.
I can't often hear with detail, like a lot of people are sending me, a lot of people are sending me advice on sound quality issues, but it's
We don't have to go down there. I just want to show it.
way easier to gauge the sound quality when you're home on your computer or TV versus out here with all the noise and the...
And I've never been to Happy Veggie Restaurant, but I just want to tell everybody I never will go there.
You're not a happy veggie.
I don't mind vegetables, but I mean, the whole point of having a Chinese meal is to have shrimp and, scallops and beef, whatever, many different entrees. Only vegetables.
Here's the Tap Bakery, Charles.
It's good.
One thing that we really don't have in New York, because I guess this is a weird non sequitur thing to even bring up, but very popular in Japan and Singapore and places I'm into, sushi kaiten.
What's that?
Well, not to be confused with kaizen. Sushi kaiten is when the sushi is coming around on a conveyor belt, and you just grab it as it comes
Whoa.
past where you're sitting.
Those are some very big. What is that?
Whoops. Yeah, they're not what you think they are. It's got a different name because
Pomelo.
Right. It's not a grapefruit.
I was going to say those are some big grapefruits.
It might be a genetically engineered. Like that is huge. People will know what a pomelo is, but I don't.
Those are big ass grapes
Kind
too.
of yeah, but anyway, I don't know. For some reason in Japan, it's very popular. The sushi kaiten, United States, it seems to almost always fail. I've been to one in San Francisco, and there was one in New York at one time, but when I went there, it had already gone out of business.
So you want to go? Let's
What a-
go
what a
up.
mess this
Whoa, slippery.
Yeah, it's very slippery.
Let's
Not
wait.
fall
Yeah, let's wait.
and die.
There's a skiing reflex is taking over. Did you see how quick that was?
I saw it, but it was not on camera.
All right. You do. I'm going to say this. You do have to be really careful. Next thing you know, I'll be flat on my ass. But
Well, it is treacherous right here. Walking.
so this is the kind of stuff you really want to leave out rather than take away.
Yeah, broken metal underneath the
Yeah, I mean, you just really want this. You don't want to have it. You got a gigantic group of sanitation engineers, otherwise known as garbage people, who are responsible for plowing, I think. You know, rather than getting rid of this, just putting it on trucks, and I don't know if it's even allowed to throw it in the Hudson River or East River. You know,
Why
you
not?
leave it here. I don't know. Maybe there's some
Honestly,
environment.
so that's a good idea. I've seen trucks that they put it in, that then the truck heats up and melts it, but that seems like it would take a lot of energy.
Sure.
Dumping it in the river is a good idea.
But you just have get AOC.
Eat it. Wow, that guy just went right through the
Are
red
you
light.
from New Jersey by chance? Yeah,
Wow.
you stupid idiot. It happens all the time. I was just talking to somebody explaining you cannot in New York City
Make a right on red?
or assume that because you have the light, the idiots in cars are going to
Yeah.
respect the light. That guy waited until a good couple seconds
Yeah.
after we had the right of way. and he-
Actually, some woman got hit by a truck in Times Square yesterday or 2
Really?
days ago. I think she's dead.
so what we can do, Jason, if you
Could
want,
probably coronavirus.
we can sit out here and wait for it to open.
No. She got hit by a truck and they tested her for coronavirus. I don't mean to laugh.
She's
I'm
flat.
not laughing.
Did they really test her for corona?
I made that part up. She
Okay.
got hit by a truck and I'm pretty sure she's dead.
Oh man,
I
of
don't
corona?
I don't know.
It was not the truck. You know, Gerald Nadler and what's his name, Shifty Shift. Yes, the truck flattened her to a millimeter, but the real cause of her death was COVID.
Yeah. Extra 30 grand for the hospital.
Yeah.
So Charles, all these places are just hammered here. And
Well-
so what do you think about that Time magazine article with lawfare?
We'll talk about it in just a sec.
Sure.
This is this restaurant that my brother and I like to go to, and you know, I think it's on Sundays they don't open, I believe. Well, maybe because of the weather.
It smells like they've just repainted it or something.
They did. They just put this thing up. I think they own this. They may also.
How are there not going to be just a million homeless people? Like, frankly, this is more pleasant for us right now.
We just to sit here. I think in part because you don't screw around with people who own
Got it.
Italian restaurants in
That's a good
Little
point.
Italy.
They just come in and remove. the
Yeah,
refuse.
I think that would be unwise. But so the Time magazine article, we have the approach. What is this? Why are we flickering
That's a
off?
van that someone's going to jump out of and throw us in.
You laugh.
Drive away. That's like about
Pro
that.
Perfect cooling and heating. Anyway, yeah, I always when somebody drives up as a vendor in a Mercedes trying to get business out of me, that's when I kind of say, no.
You might not be the right vendor. Oh wow, this is the first place we've seen that's got people in it.
Yeah. It's we've never eaten here, my brother and I, but
Oh, it's Da Gennaro. So like,
That's
I
good.
guess the Festival of St. Gennaro has something to do with that.
there's Umberto's Clam House.
That's where we spoke to that guy. And look, another Space Invaders street art.
I hadn't seen that. That's interesting.
That is interesting. What is he saying? I Space Invade New York.
Yeah.
Huh.
Maybe there's going to be a new Space Invader movie.
No, that's a street artist, the Space Invader. And the idea is he's invading the space, I think. He was in that movie, Exit Through the Gift Shop, about Banksy.
Oh, I
Oh,
don't.
well, Mr. Mind
Yeah, I don't-
Wash or something. Mr. Brainwash.
yeah, 2 movies I don't know anything about.
Anyway,
But
Time
so
Magazine.
yeah, the way these people, Hillary Clinton is a prime mover in this. When Jennifer Flowers' story came out and all this, she goes on to Today's show. My husband and I have been victims of a vast right-wing conspiracy. That's the standard. Anytime there's an credible allegation,
right.
it's a conspiracy. They're conspiracy
Right.
theorists, and that's their playbook. It's either been that alone, or it's a conspiracy theory and it's been debunked.
Right.
And I think, if somebody was mechanical, we could create special bunk beds for Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton. You put them in the bunk bed and then debunk them into the toilet. But that's their playbook.
Debunk beds.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah. Debunk her right into one of those Chardonnay vats, which is probably most people get up in the morning. They either have a cup of coffee before the shower, or they shower, take a bath,
In the
or what.
shower.
But Hillary Clinton is debunked into the Chardonnay vat. She's doing, like the old wicky-wacky water ballet in the Chardonnay vat. Gets her blood alcohol level back up or down or whatever it is to the level it needs to be. And then she said, maybe I do kind of stink. Maybe I better go in the shower. That's her morning. But anyway.
But wait, Charles, what are the fun things that used to happen in the summertime, around where I grew up? They'd have this church fair, right? And even if you didn't go to the church, you could go, and it was like rides and carnival games. And there's always that thing where you can throw the baseball.
Right, and try to dunk somebody.
It's like the principal of the school
Oh,
or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and you can sink them in there. We could make debunk
Oh,
Hillary
yeah,
and
that'd be good.
have that game, but with a bunk bed and throw
Right.
a ball and get her to fall into the Chardonnay.
Right. So we had many articles, different people. You and I did videos about it, different American thinker pieces, the Greg Jarrett's, the Sarah Carter's, the political writers, all talking about what is Mark Elias doing, what is Stacey Abrams doing, what are these various people in media doing, changing laws and changing regulations. And now it emerges that a Time magazine piece comes out and basically lays out some of the people, many of the core players, in the scheme to steal the 2020 election.
Well,
that's
okay,
right.
That's not dangerous.
Yeah, in the scheme to steal the 2020 election, and lays it out chapter and verse. Kind of the way I knew somebody who was on a volunteer fire department, and they explained to me that actually, when there's a fire going on, it's highly likely that the person who committed the fire is
They're watching it?
Yeah, this is the same idea.
Because it's some pathology
Yeah.
that they want
They want to not
to
only,
see their work.
and they want to see how people react to their work.
It's making that kind of attention. This many
Right.
people jumping to action
Right.
and suffering at
Look
their
what I
hands.
did.
Right.
Right. And that's, I think, what this Time magazine piece is all about. It's not, Time magazine is hardly a right-wing.
CIA operation.
Well, it's hardly a right-wing operation. I mean, it could well be tied into the security services, but
They're the ones who bought the Zapruder film and held on to it for 12 years.
and so they're very much. I mean, the article is more or less saying, in your face, Biden's the president. You're not going to get him out. We've got this trial going on. Here's how we did it.
Right. It's
You
like
know.
O.J. Simpson writing that book.
Right, exactly.
If I killed her, this is what I would have done.
Shouldn't laugh at that.
Not laughing. Well,
But-
we are laughing, but
Yeah.
laughing at O.J. Simpson for being ridiculous, not laughing at the fact that he's a murderer.
Is he going to be in the Biden cabinet? He's going to be what? A director of outreach to.
He didn't even have to reach out that far. He just
That's right.
he had a longer knife.
Troubled couples counseling.
Right. Put him in charge of Health and Human Services.
That's right. Health and human dismemberment. But anyway, so now this, generally speaking, I don't know about Sundays. My brother and I always come on Saturdays. So generally speaking, I would guess on Sundays, Little Italy is not as busy. But certainly on Saturday, yesterday, it was thronged. Where we are now,
What do you think of this thing, Noah?
he had an arc.
But he's got a fist on the store
That's,
now.
I think, BLM solidarity.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to get the Nobel Peace Prize. The trouble is,
this is some kind of crazy
Stinger?
Kia Stringer. Like, that's a super high horsepower vehicle right there.
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would not know that. But actually, Jason, let's back up a sec. Take a look at this. Speaking of, what's that all about? That's Spy versus Spy.
On the BMW, yeah. I don't know. Somebody who's a fan of
Mad Magazine.
I guess. I used to love that Spy versus Spy.
I did too. I love that.
I think there's a lot of that going on, Charles. Spy versus Spy.
It's spies against everybody.
You know what it is? I think that there's a huge field of private intelligence organizations that the average person really isn't aware of. I mean, like Flynn Intelligence was a Michael Flynn company. What sort of intelligence operations are they getting involved in?
Yeah, I'm very much against the idea of private intelligence services and private armies, and especially as we now find ourselves in a place where, God almighty, that's noisy.
Rowdy crowd, right?
Yeah, young, rowdy crowd.
I barely saw.
You think those are college kids?
I don't know, but they're enjoying a little booze.
It could be elementary school kids for all we know. But, yeah, do you know about that place over there? It's a place where you drink coffee. Yeah, before naked. You drink coffee, you stand outside, you buy clothes. And yesterday when my brother and I walked by there at like 5 o'clock, it was jammed.
I don't know anything about it. Amy Leon Dora?
Dora, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Never seen
It's
it
a
before.
thing. Yes.
Boy, I haven't been in a restaurant in a really, really long time. It's strange.
So, so what I started to say is that in 2021, as the poor Laura Loomer has found out, if the Uniparty wants to really just disappear you, it's like 10 steps and you're gone. No banking privileges, can't travel, you lose your social media, the word goes out, you're blackballed at any corporate-owned media, corporate-owned corporation, and who knows what goes in, whether they open an FBI file as well. And
I'm sure on Laura. I mean, remember when she tried to get a gun, they said she was on some kind of special FBI list. Wow, there's a lot of heat coming out of that.
there is, indeed.
So she was on some kind of FBI list, maybe for agitating dumb Comey.
Well, I think it started with her being shot down to set up Young Conservatives or something at college, and then saying, okay, I want to set up a club to support ISIS and ISIS brides.
They let her do
They
that.
said, yeah, no problem. And she went on TV with that one. I love that story. I think that was it's the kind of thing my mother would have done.
Laura's good, yeah.
And I enjoyed my mother. Thanks to her, I'm walking next to you.
Right. Well,
is this Whole Foods?
No, this is Mulberry Market. I have not seen that before.
So now what are we in now, Jason?
Wow, look at those weird symbols. I don't know what this place is, or if people can see that.
But this starts to be, what would you call this? Is
still,
this well, it's Mulberry.
Soho.
Soho, or NoHo or Soho? We're not.
Where's
Are we
Houston?
past? We're still south of Houston.
They are really promoting this Tom and Jerry movie, Charles. What do you think of that?
I know nothing about it. You mean the cartoon thing?
Yeah, Cat and Mouse.
I loved those movies as a kid. Heckle and those cartoons.
Yeah.
Heckle and Jekyll, Crazy Cat.
Well, most of those cartoons have been canceled because, as you recall, Tom and Jerry used to. There was one episode where they were cowboys and Tom was rolling cigarettes and whatnot. They made them get rid of all cigarette references in Tom and Jerry.
I know.
And I think gun stuff too. They used to shoot each other and beat each other over the head and things like that.
And I know, like Roadrunner, the Acme Safe Company, and all that.
Because cats smoking cigarettes, that's bad for kids, but transgender people reading them stories at the library, we should definitely have that.
I said the way I feel now.
Yeah.
That's not confusing for a kid.
No. So here we are on Jersey Street. Did you know there was a Jersey Street in Manhattan?
It's always interesting.
Got
when
lost.
we
Like,
find ourselves on streets of Manhattan that I've never been on before.
I'm supposed to be in New Jersey, across the river. You're stuck here. Jersey Street.
But I feel like St. Patrick's Youth Center we've walked by before.
Yeah, we have. And it's pronounced Ute.
Youth Center.
So yeah, the Uniparty is standing up and letting all who might challenge it understand that a fate awaits you similar to Donald Trump's imminent cancellation if you dare go up against
Right.
the mighty Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and people who are now going to try to take everyone's rights away.
It's really bad.
It is indeed.
Now, what about Marjorie Taylor Greene? She's been standing up and getting a lot of airtime. I think she's handled herself remarkably well. They like to say that she made social media posts about QAnon, and she gave a speech where she said that she realizes now that some of those things that she said were not true, and she apologized, and then she called on Democrats to do the same for the Russia collusion stuff that they've been promoting. You know, they're quick to point out things that other people's social media accounts promote that might be considered conspiracy theorists, but they never say anything about their own conspiracy theories.
Look, I mean, you can't. There's a little bit of loony in everybody, and I don't know this particular person at all. But the propensity of Democrats to say that we didn't win this seat over here, the Republicans person, we don't like this particular Republican, so we now want to defang that particular Republican, even though we had no role. We lost the vote.
Right. Wow, that guy's really anxious
Douche.
to jump through the red light.
Yeah.
I made a little sound adjustment per the comments, Charles.
What was the problem?
My mic is a little too low. It's very difficult for me to set my own level because I'm hearing my voice in my head and the echo and everything. But
You're
yeah, they're
hearing-
trying to cancel Republicans.
You're hearing voices in your head, Jason.
My own voice.
Oh, okay, good.
It's coming through the headphones.
All right. Yeah, so they stripped her of all her committee seats, which means that she can't really readily affect legislation and do her job. And I think that's abominable performance. I mean, as nutty as the Sheila Jackson Lee is representing her constituents as a member of the Crazy Hat Caucus, you know, these people who dress with crazy hats and scarves and jewelry and all that kind of stuff. She introduced H.R. 127,
Oh,
which is this bill that is beyond stupid and may get passed because it's the kind of thing that Joe and the smartest guy he knows probably love.
what is 127 again?
It's a devious plan as written to not only force people who buy their first gun now or
Oh,
to submit to onerous provisions like a license and whatever, but beyond that, you have to make, if you already own guns or once you own guns, you have to submit
declarations.
inventory.
This is like a lake here.
It's called Lake Slush.
Whoa, that was an impressively athletic leap by that guy.
That's right. Let's go this way, Jason.
Got the gimbal moves going crazy here, Charles. That guy just like
I know. It's
Bruce
fun.
Jennered his way across, or Caitlyn Jennered his way across the
Right.
pond over there.
There you go. So they've introduced this bill where if you're
Got to register your guns.
you got not only your guns, your ammunition, and it's a detailed registration form. So you got to list the serial number, the make, I don't know what else, where you bought
It's
it,
ridiculous.
and if you make an error, it's a serious crime. It could be a felony. You could go to jail for up to 20 years. You got to pay a
What?
big fee per year for your collection of guns. And here's the genius move. And I say that not meaning that it's a genius move. This registry would then be a publicly available database. So any criminal could go on
Who
the
does and
database,
doesn't have guns.
right, and say, well, okay, Charles Ortel doesn't have any guns.
Let's
Let's
go
go
rob
get
him.
right. I mean, this person, she's on the arrogant, you know, that the four boxes: high and low, arrogance, high and low
Right.
intelligence, high arrogance, low intelligence, and they may well pass this bill.
My
Especially
God.
if there's any kind of Sandy Hook or Las Vegas incident anytime soon, which sadly you can expect will happen. you know, because in a country with 335 million people and a lot of guns, and given the way in which this economy has been beaten down, and all of us have been beaten down, it's not surprising that a few people will go over the edge. Yeah. So what would you call this? We passed Houston Street or not? Yeah, we did.
We're in the East Village,
East Village, okay.
aren't we? Because we're east of Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, we're definitely, yeah.
I mean, it's like the lower outskirts of the East Village. That even says Le Village Lafayette. That I think is new. That's a fancy name for plastic tents outside our restaurant.
And you get to pay a special COVID fee. Watch that slush thing.
There's the NYU place.
Yeah, what are they doing? Selling drugs?
Yeah, probably taking them. Doing nothing.
I got to believe that the market in drugs to NYU students is a vibrant market.
I think so. Well, that's the park.
Yeah, I don't think so. See all those guys? Oh, they come up to me. Smoke, smoke.
I really feel like it actually used to be a bigger problem. Maybe I'm no longer the age that they. Well, yeah, you're saying they talk to you. I don't know. It used to be you couldn't go in that park without getting solicited.
Your supply? I mean,
I don't think you want to.
I'm just teasing.
That's a sketch.
So what do we do?
Well, we
Go up to Union Square and then.
Let's see what's going on in Union Square Park. Yeah.
Sure.
I really don't think, even if there were protests scheduled today, I don't think most of the people are going to make it out in this crappy weather. As few people as dedicated to walking around in crappy weather as you and I, Charles.
Yeah, exactly. Now, for those of us who like alcohol, this is Astor Wines and Spirits here. It's actually a pretty good store. It used to have quite a nice selection of what I find anybody could go if you have the money and spend $200 and get a super or $400 bottle of wine. But what I like about that place is they introduce you to good wines that are not expensive from up and coming vineyards and stuff like that. So it's a fun place to go to. And then my former business partner, has seen the Blue Man Group.
Oh yeah, that's
like,
right over here. Or right up there, yeah.
I don't know how many different times he would constantly take, clients and his family. He must have been there like 35, 50 times. I'm like, isn't once or maybe twice enough of that?
It was a fun show, I have to say. I think it's one of those things that when you went there before it was a national or an international phenomenon, perhaps it was a little bit more fun. Yeah. A friend of mine had because the thing was called Blue Man Group Tubes.
What's that all about?
Well, they had these tubes. The theater is built specifically for them, and they would select people from the audience to operate the tubes, and you would just like speak into a tube from backstage, and it literally is like a pneumatic tube that leads into the theater, and you could whisper like, "Hey, Charles," and out of nowhere that'll just pop into the theater.
Cool. There it is, right there.
Yeah, and it's still going, and then also I think they're at the Luxor now in Las Vegas.
You see up there, open all borders. Like, how the hell did somebody get up there?
Where do you see that? Oh yeah.
How do you get up there? I mean, you could somebody could hold you, but you'd have to have one hell of a stepladder to get up there.
I think you hang down from the top. I mean, I believe this is one of the...
Nothing dangerous about that.
But I'm saying that's part of the graffiti art legacy, is that if you can put your tag someplace crazy, you're a baller. So, hang off of the truss of the Brooklyn Bridge or so, crazy dangerous stuff. I think that's part of the reason why they wanted it to be illegal. Not only is it vandalism and destroying people's property with your air quotes artwork, it was spurring people to do more and more dangerous things in this competition of where you can put your tag.
Now, do those people who do that, do they wear masks?
I don't know. I'm not. I could be even having that part of the story wrong. I'm not too dialed into the graffiti culture.
So that Starbucks over there is on Astor Place. And when I was writing columns for the Washington Times, I was a member of the Jason Goodman Club, saying we're only going to allocate a certain amount of time to doing it. So I would think about the column, but I would head over here. It was due at 3 p.m.
Why is that the Jason Goodman phone?
Well, I just noticed that's what you do. You like to have, say if there's a task, it could take as much time as we want, but if we have a self-imposed arbitrary deadline. So I would arrive at like 9 or 10, and the quota was only 750 words, which sounds like a lot if you don't know writing, but if you remember,
easy to fill it up.
well, a normal human speaker, not somebody who speaks like a rattles words out. A normal human is going to speak at least, I would say, 60 words a minute, at least. So if you just write as if you're talking to the piece of paper, you think about something and you just talk to the piece of paper, you can get a pretty good draft in 10 minutes. A rough draft, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And then you polish it.
Red lights are not being followed today,
They don't
Charles.
apply. Let's go over this way. But I bring it up to say that in there I would regularly see Big from Sex and the City, that actor, and also Law and Order, Mr. Big or Big.
Oh
or
yeah, Chris.
was it something or other. And I would regularly see Cornell West, who must have lived in there with these beautiful white girlfriends. And then you'd also see a bevy of homeless people who would wait till that thing would open up, and they all had laptops, and you could put your laptop, you could recharge it in the wall.
I was going to say, where does a homeless person charge their laptop?
Starbucks.
What do they need a laptop for?
I don't know. What do you need anything, Jason? That's a big existential question.
Well, I use my laptop a lot for work, which if I didn't have a home, I wouldn't have too many bills.
So you
So
wouldn't
it
need the
wouldn't
laptop.
need a job, yeah.
Or the laptop. So that restaurant, Tim Ho something or other, Watt or whatever it is.
Which one?
Well, up there in the green, next block up on the corner.
Oh yeah.
Tim Ho. I've never been in there, and maybe it's gone now, but it's part of a, that's nice. It's part of, I just came to high speed right behind it.
I know.
That's part of, I think, an international chain that's thought to be quite good.
Tim Ho Wan.
Juan, is it?
Tim Ho Wan Kenobi. Now, Charles, we have not had a sound problem today.
Don't say it, Jason.
No, it's not by accident. I mean, I don't just ignore these problems. Every technical problem gets a
right.
high degree of scrutiny,
All right.
and sometimes they take a long time to figure out, but
Yeah.
they never last.
So this is, we're coming up on the Grace Church School playground, which I first attended in, let's think, would have been, I think 63. And I remember, I mean, to me, when I got here in 1963 as a entering second grader, that place seemed gigantic.
Yep.
And I remember we would have, it was back in the day when people weren't wussies, and you could play dodgeball, and you could, you kick balls at people and have snowball fights and have a big old time. So I remember a big ass snowball fight, and then we went in for lunch, and as little kids, I mean, the lunchroom seemed really big, and they would serve us a very nice hot meal. And I got to the point, I'm even to this day a pretty finicky eater, but I really liked the chicken and rice that they would serve. And I'm sitting there about to put my fork into the chicken and rice when I noticed something that I initially thought was pepper. And in fact, it was a big dead fly.
Oh.
So they had given us a lecture at this church school that you should always tell the truth, and you should always, if you saw something that was a problem, you shouldn't be shy. So I walk up in a loud voice to get up from the table, take my plate over to the people dishing out the food, and I say, "There's a fly in my food." "No, there isn't, kid." "Yes, there is." "No, there isn't." "Yes, there is." One of those long things.
That's funny.
I only lasted at that school for 4 years, or 5 years, I guess. But yeah, this is all part of Grace Church School, which now goes all the way. When I went, it was only, I think, first grade. I don't even know if they had kindergarten, but it was definitely first grade through 8th, and then they expanded. We walked past it, I didn't mention it. but it expanded to high school.
Huh.
And around here, back in the 60s, there were a lot. There wasn't just the Strand. There were a lot of used bookstores all around here. Now they're not.
Well,
so many.
and didn't we have the Publishers Union or something
Right.
over there?
Yeah. And there's a nice outfit for Halloween.
Right now, it's all Halloween costumes and S&M bondage.
No, this is where Hunter shops.
Yeah.
He's got a frequent shopper card. And how'd you like that deal, the $2 million book deal
For Hunter?
for Hunter? I mean, it's good news for me. I haven't had a discussion with my agent about it, but I'm going to insist that I get at least what Hunter gets.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to make sure your father runs for president.
All right,
And gets, wants to be bribed by the Chinese.
I guess.
Because I just think that book deals and art galleries are the number one way, and acting, movies, I've spoken about this a lot, that, things like that are useful because you can pay people whatever you want. Wait, look at this. Is this new?
I think it's out.
But I don't think this was a store before.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, was it? Yeah. So supermarket going out of business.
Actually, it used to be there used to be a Subway around here. But there's you want a slice of pizza?
No. But this is one of the ones that I've noticed is new. This is, I think, open.
Yeah.
during
Actually, it
the
looks pretty
pandemic.
good. Looks like pretty good pizza, Jason.
I'm just curious about places that have opened during the pandemic. It seems
Right.
like you're either crazy or why would you do that? And bar bacon, I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, I don't think you need to be because it looks kind of done. So we're coming up on Union Square. Do you think it'll be the anti-vax?
No. I don't think we're going to have any
Be a
kind of
common.
organized anything because I think it's just too snowy and people are either out just sort of briefly checking out what's going on or going to buy food or staying home,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
The common sense protest.
Well, also people are watching this superb owl.
That's
Did
at
that
6
start yet?
or 6:30 or something.
Well, but they're having non-parties without their family.
And here's the de Blasio garbage monument. Again, why you tell people to leave the garbage out on Friday so they can stay here until Monday when it gets picked up is beyond me.
Well, it's refrigerated at least today.
Yeah, for
But
now.
we have walked by some piles that were developing a bit of a funk.
Yeah,
They're musky.
that's it, putting it mildly.
So, Charles, what has happened with the short squeeze and all that? I read that BlackRock made billions from it.
Billions, I don't know about that, but not a lot of police over there, Jason.
Adam Bomb 31458 says Hunter has worked very hard for his money.
Oh yeah,
Where are the police? Oh yeah.
he's worked hard for his money. Yep.
What are the? I think they're just parking over there.
Yeah.
They're not actually policing anything.
Now we can in the
Park
next.
looks super empty.
We can, Jason, if you want, stop in Whole Foods. If you want to.
For what?
Well, I know sometimes your Whole Foods doesn't have enough whole food.
No, I've been working on actually clearing out some of the frozen food that I had from, back at the beginning of the pandemic. I didn't really know what to do, so I stocked up on frozen stuff, and I've been trying to, eat that rather than spend more money on additional food.
Yeah, you probably have had a net improvement. I know I have in not having to go out to eat, which always ends up, particularly if you have any wine,
Well, I've been
a
saving
lot more expensive than you
Yeah.
think at first plus, because you got sales tax at 9%, you got
Right.
a tip, and then
Well, the food is more expensive to begin with,
yeah,
and if you order a drink. But
Right.
I've been saving a lot of money, and so not really eating as much.
what's this? Super Bowl.
This
Look at
guy's
this.
protesting the Super Bowl.
No, that's a bong, isn't it, or something?
This is a bowl, just like a pipe. I don't
Art
really
is-
understand why he.
Art is bad. It said, live from Stratton Mountain. That's not.
I guess now would be a good time to be at a ski mountain. given the weather.
Well, except you got to still social distance, and
Well, you're 6 feet away from people when you're skiing anyway.
not in the lift line necessarily.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh God, it's all so.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else people are saying from the comments, Charles.
Okay.
It's a little difficult to see. My glasses are almost fully
That's all right.
covered.
Can I buy you something from the halal kitchen?
I'm all right, thanks.
That was a rhetorical question.
Got it. All right, so people are saying George Carlin was from New York City. He was poor. Mother divorced, raised in a Catholic school, loved to entertain, started
Careful.
at 7 years old. That's not really a question. Let's see if anybody has any questions for Charles. Hunter is Joe's pimp, according to West. Might be the other way around, actually. Oh, wait, Charles, look.
More GameStop.
Yes. Game stonk. So, yeah, I mean, I think that the GameStop situation didn't really play out the way so many of the people who invested in it
Right.
thought it would.
Well, and so the way the Congress, is, of course, is calling for investigations. Maybe the SEC is investigating it, but I can tell you that a long time ago, when the SEC noticed a controversial project that was sufficiently interesting to take them away from watching porn, they would they'd put a real team, a real crack team, together, and they had the ability in the 80s, before the internet, and obviously have more ability now, to reconstruct a timeline of when they'll see when did you buy the stock, and then what were you doing right before that, who were you talking to, who else was talking to you, how did you get the idea to buy the stock, and if they discover that people are acting in concert on the basis of inside knowledge that they all were going to do this at the same time, then there can be a real problem. And the question is the amount going to be significant enough for the SEC? I mean, if it's 100 people each pooling $20 to do it, I don't think the SEC would waste the time to go after you. But if it's 100,000 people and the amount is more, in the millions, then yes, they might. And particularly if there's a ringleader, one or more ringleaders, that are instigating people to do this. So, a bigger thing that happened last week actually was that there was a second Bernie Madoff style guy, David Gentile, was tagged for a 1.8 billion Ponzi,
Whoa.
where he would take investors' money and, of course, buy himself a Ferrari and spend money on American Express and travel and lose money and not really explain that he lost the money and keep taking more money and using the new money to pay off the old money. And so he was tagged with accomplishments. By tagged,
Not
I mean...
to move off of that for a second. By tagged, you mean what?
Charged.
Not to move off of that, but someone is saying, we're being condescending to Mike Lindell. What do you say to that?
I don't know. I mean, I watched... Mike Lindell has built up a company that spends a tremendous amount of money on advertising across multiple platforms, and I don't know how many pillows people actually buy in the United States, but I got to believe that he's pretty close to reaching. Yeah, I mean,
He's super saturated.
Right, and I think we were more commenting on having watched his movie, his documentary, and having watched him through this process. And for somebody making the kind of claims that he continues to make, the evidence
sucks.
The evidence is thin, to put it politely. Now, maybe
let me just add one thing, if I may, Charles, because I was not trying to be condescending. I called the guy up to help him.
I know.
To try to help save his reputation, to try to help prevent him from presenting information to Donald Trump that if Donald Trump should use it,
Right.
absolutely will fail in court.
Right.
Not because as he claims I work for Dominion Software, which of course I don't, but because it's completely stupid evidence that doesn't stand up to scrutiny at all. So I'm not condescending to the guy, but I think people have seen from the way I act and walk around on the street, my approach in general, Charles, is to be very nice to people, except if they're not nice to me.
Right.
And then I will...
The hammer.
Absolutely.
Right. But so, yeah, I mean, I watched the beginning and I watched the very end, and I was unimpressed. I mean, I will reserve judgment. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and say, maybe they claimed they had thousands of pages where they had identified the specific computer device and whether it hacked or how it got in and the time and all sorts of information. I will concede that they may have such a table, but I would want somebody to verify that that table is real, rather than something that any sophisticated computer person might be able to manufacture. I mean, I'd like to see some...
Oh, wait a minute.
What?
It's just an interesting little tidbit. Che Guevara.
You sure that's Che Guevara?
Isn't it?
I thought doesn't it look a lot like, who's that guy on, Ashton Kutcher?
I think it's Che Guevara.
Oh, okay.
And I also think that apparently George H.W. Bush had his hands in his desk drawer.
And what?
Felix Rodriguez claims to have killed Che Guevara and chopped off his hand or his hands and give it to George Bush.
That's fucking weird.
Well, I mean, Larry Nichols had a similar claim about somebody else's...
yeah, important.
Yeah, in Bill Clinton's desk.
Yeah.
So I guess having things like that in your desk is a... I don't even have a desk, Charles.
That's right. But you do have a lot of those things lying around your apartment?
No, I don't have anything like that. Yeah. Closest I have to that is a bear skull, and I didn't even kill the bear.
Yeah. I used to have a number of stuffed piranha fishes that scare the crap out of people who would try to clean my office with them read.
What you should do is get a giant tank filled with piranha and every now and then drop a cow in there.
I don't think that...
Test how long it takes to skeletonize the cow.
And waste a good cow, Jason?
That's true. Well,
I might put a vegetable in there.
Then piranhas will not be interested. But I mean, that's just it, Charles. You've hit it on the head. Mike Lindell, we wanted to help him, but you know, it's you either got to lead, follow, or get out of the way, and he's a crappy leader. I frankly have to say, after speaking with him on the phone for that brief amount of time, and looking up the history of allegations against him, affidavits, sworn under oath of statements about him, I cannot believe that that individual runs a $300 million company.
Yeah.
It's shocking to me. As a matter of fact, I question that.
Well, I sincerely hope that the Trump team has a stronger set of arguments than is contained in the documentary that I watched, say, half of.
Now, where do we want to go here?
I think we'll just end up on... What do you want to do?
Well, we're getting close to the end,
Yeah, I think we just go to 7th Avenue. And
yeah. I'm pleased that the equipment has worked as well as it has.
It's good.
You know, and I want to remind people, Charles, before we wrap, that they can visit crowdsourcethetruth.com, and if they want to sponsor the Counter Lawfare Fund, all you got to do is scroll down past today's video. You'll notice there's a lot of different options for sponsoring the Counter Lawfare Fund. Each of them include an annual subscription to Subscribestar, so you can get involved in the beta test of the Crowdsource the Truth video server, go back and start watching videos. I think I've been repopulating as far back as April or March 2020, and we're going to fill them all in as we go. The higher value sponsorship positions allow you to send gift subscriptions to friends or family members, so it's a great way to help me fight some of the social engineering lawsuits that are ongoing. The Emmys are not giving up, and the other social engineers that are suing me are still trying to keep their stupid lawsuits alive. We'll see what happens.
All right.
Nothing good going on over here on 14th Street, Charles.
Yeah, and this is next to the Salvation Army. You would think, you know, if the Salvation Army had the inside track on saving people,
things, yeah.
It had done a better job of saving their headquarters here.
It is not so good, yeah.
It's kind of cool. I don't know if we'll be able to see it, but this place dates from horse-drawn days, I think. Or maybe not.
Or something?
Well, yeah, they have an entry where you can kind of, sometimes it's open, sometimes it's not.
It says, while women weep as they do now, I'll fight. While men go to prison, in and out as they do now. I can't read the rest of it because of the fence. But
I'll fight. While there is a drunkard left, Hunter, while there is a poor lost girl upon the streets, while there remains one dark soul without the light of God, I'll fight. I'll fight to the very end.
That's an interesting quote.
Interesting artwork.
Yeah, that's been there for a while. We've observed that in the past.
Yeah. So,
The sun's coming out a little bit. Seems like the snow has stopped.
but it's still freaking cold.
It's not as bad as it's been on other days, but I do believe it was a prudent and appropriate decision not to drive. We also don't know what's going to happen, with the road conditions overnight and tomorrow.
You'll have to
But
ask
we've
those.
got this polar vortex coming.
You'll have to ask those road scholars to tell you what's going to
Right.
happen to the road.
Exactly. And hopefully this equipment's not getting too soaked out.
Yeah, it is. I think the snow is good. It's good timing. I think it's coming to an end today.
Well, any words in closing, Charles?
Well, the trial will be interesting, beginning Monday and Tuesday. We'll see how long it lasts. We're going to have to start seeing legislation in Congress. You can't just have the great, not so great dictator firing out executive orders. At some point, they're going to have to try to pass legislation.
Well, that's no fun. They're going to have to stop, beating up Donald Trump if they actually want to do the work of Congress.
Yeah, and they had, on this issue of stimulus, AOC is now insisting that 1.9 trillion is a floor, not a ceiling.
Oh,
Yeah, she's made of money, evidently.
right. How was her office during the Capitol riots?
She wouldn't know because she wasn't there. But I think she was definitely interviewing, perhaps for her own talk show, or creating these ridiculous assertions that nobody could really check, except they could check them, and they proved her to be full of the brown stuff.
So is this the end of the line right here,
I
Charles?
think it could be.
Very good. Well, another New York City walk-around episode, despite my, intention to leave. It'll happen.
Sure, you're gonna leave. Yeah, right. Yeah,
Well,
yeah, you're gonna
some
leave.
people have been saying that this is the universe telling us that Jason should stay in New York, but
Right. Maybe I'll leave, and you should stay.
maybe. No, I'm definitely gonna leave. This week should be it. Hopefully, the polar vortex doesn't stop it.
All right.
I want to thank everybody for watching. I want to thank the generous sponsors that make Crowdsource the Truth possible. Please visit subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth, or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and become a sponsor.